Hello and welcome back to Community Super League. I'm Randy Bueller, pinch hitting for Wedge, who apologizes he can't do any commentary tonight. How are you doing, Gabby?
I'm good, thank you. I'm calling from LA.
Yes, welcome from Los Angeles. Got there just in time for the Grand Prix. Now, I love the deck, but negate? Seriously, can you not let Wedge have any fun?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess even the Clone Legion at that point doesn't even really do anything. I guess he gets to copy the Miscreant and bounce a couple of my things. It's too tempting not to negate a 9-mana spell. Come on.
Fair. It is very rare that you get the chance to negate a 9-mana spell.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. You basically never lose at Super League.
Except when I did lose and I got absolutely crushed.
What you lost was like what, the Super League Championship playoffs?
Yeah, it was to Paul Reidsel. It was to Paul Reidsel who eventually won the Super League championships. Yep.
After you won the standard, the entire.
I was on a sick tear. I was like 7-1, I think.
It was crazy.
Or like
you're now 4-0 in Community Super League. To be clear, there's only one person who's even 3-1. I think Cheon is a match behind you, and then it's just a bunch of 2-2s. And then the matchup we've got coming up, actually, it's a pair of 1-2s playing to see who's going to be in the middle of the pack, 2 matches behind you, and who's going to be trying to stay ahead of their girlfriend bracket, who's the one over.
Have we talked about how playoffs work, or like how?
We haven't talked about it on stream. That's a good question, actually. So there's one playoff week after the end of the round robin. So 10 players, everybody plays everybody once. That's 9 weeks. That's why we've got 9 different formats. The playoffs, we're going to have the top 3 players go to the playoffs. So the first thing that happens is second place plays third place. It'll be best 2 out of 3 formats. And then whoever wins that plays, apparently you, best 2 out of 3 formats.
Are they new formats, or are we doing some of the old formats and then just like refactoring them again?
That's a great question. What do you guys think, chat? It has not been decided. If there's 3 formats that the audience thinks, wow, we should just run back those formats and make people build new decks, we can do it that way. If we come up with 3 sweet new formats, we can do it that way.
I think it'd be cool to put it up to audience vote. Like, we can structure it in such a way where it's like, hey, choose. We can run these back or some of these back, or we can come up with some new formats and then let people decide from that. I think chat would love to do that. I think everybody would be excited to participate in that.
Totally works for me. Hit me up on Twitter if you have a strong opinion about it, actually. I mean, I'm the guy who's got to make that decision eventually. But yeah, I agree. I'd love to come up with a way to just let the audience decide how those playoffs are actually going to work. Like I said, I want 3 formats so that we can do 2 out of 3 formats for the semifinal and then 2 out of 3 for the final. And then that winds up.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
By the way, speaking of formats, I don't know if we've announced this, but you know what next week's format is?
I don't, but now that you said it, I think I do.
Momir Vig.
Yes, I knew it. I love it. I advocated, maybe chat doesn't know this, but when we were deciding what formats we were going to be playing in the Super Leagues, and you sent us a list of like the formats that we were considering, one of the things that I immediately like snap emailed you back, I was like, can we maybe get Momir Basic in there?
So yes, Momir Basic. I don't think we'll have a Brewmaster vote. I mean, we can have people criticize their basic island choices or whatnot, but it will not be a Brewmaster vote. It will be Momir action all day, all night.
So good. Thursday. I'm so excited. I love Momir. It's so good.
That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have 1 match left tonight in the Brewers Challenge, and I think, like, matchup-wise, this might actually be the sweetest. Because the 2 decks we've got are both awesome. They're both slow and dirtily, which means...
I was going to say, they're both, like, they both want to, like, get to turn, like, 10 to 15.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, the pairing worked out really nicely.
All right, I don't know which deck list we've got queued up first to talk about, but we should look at these. It is Marshall Sutcliffe against Aaron Forsythe. Marshall's chosen card is Hedron alignment, while Aaron Forsythe, you see here, is on the Great Aurora. And it's funny, I saw a first draft of a Great Aurora deck from Aaron. You know, it was a little on the straightforward side, and I'm glad he came up with this, because this just looks super sweet to me. Putting just as many permanents into play as he possibly can, via these devil cards, right? The Devil's Playground, the Dance with Devils, and then Cryptolith Right means not only are those extra permanents for the Great Aurora, they're also mana acceleration, potentially, if he comes up with the Cryptolith Right for the Great Aurora.
Yeah, no, this deck is really, really
sweet
cool.
to you as it does to me?
It does. I'm super excited to see both of these play, actually. The flavor of it is really cute too. I really enjoy it. The Dragon Master Outcast is a great inclusion here, especially considering that this game is probably going to go pretty long. So this deck is dirtling around. Like if you've ever talked about dirtling, like this is the definition of it. So having something like a Dragon Master Outcast will be able to put the game away eventually. Nissa and Tireless Tracker also great at card advantage. Also Tireless Tracker great at getting permanents and play down for the Great Aurora. So I really hope we get to see a big Great Aurora.
Right, clues count as tokens, as permanents for the Great Aurora, of course. But I also totally respect that there's only 2 copies of Tireless Tracker. You saw Kenji playing it this way too, right? Kenji had the self-imposed rule that Tireless Tracker had Defender. Way too easy to just kill somebody with a Tireless Tracker.
Yeah. No, it's a really cool deck list. I'm excited to see it play out. Oh, I just noticed, actually, 2 Westvale Abbeys too. We might get some Spicers going on here too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, let's look at what Marshall came up with, because he took Hedron alignment, and he took it 3rd pick. He took it early. I mean, some of this, I think,
super high, yeah.
He's coming off this high. He did win the Brewmaster vote last week. He got the full 10 points toward the Brewmaster standings. You can check those out on the website if you're interested. He is actually in 1st place overall right now on Brewmaster standings. And I think Hedron alignment, I think he's clearly pandering to the crowd a little bit. But at the same time, like, he's dedicated. This deck does not win without Hedron alignment. Like,
I was going to say, I mean, what you got to do is show some respect, because I actually talked to Marshall as soon as I got the deck list from you for the matches they were commentating on. Yeah. Like, the first thing I did was message Marshall, and I was like, hey, your deck is sweet. Walk me through it, because this is so cool. So I just want to point out some things so that the chat knows going into this, because they might not necessarily notice just by looking at the deck list. But this deck does not win without Hedron alignment. And Marshall has also committed to not win without Hedron alignment. So if there are man lands or creature lands or whatever, he's not planning on killing with those. He's planning on going a full Brewers challenge and trying to win with Hedron alignment. And one card that's really interesting in this deck in particular, Sidisi Undead Vizier, is otherwise completely uncastable in this deck. You cannot cast it. The only way you can get Sidisi in play is if we see
Nahiri Ultimate.
Nahiri Ultimate. So that will be the only way we get Sidisi in there. And yeah, it's trying to leverage some copying, card draw, and digging through his deck and find different ways to get the Hedron alignments into all his 4 zones. So Marshall went pretty deep. Yeah.
And he's going to have time. I honestly think the trickiest part is he has to find all 4 copies of Hedron alignment. Like, he had enough colors. He couldn't go into black for Dark Petition, so he has to just draw, find all 4 copies of Hedron alignment. But with Torrent of Lava can do that done. Well, it sounds like our players are ready, so let's stop talking about the match. Let's get down to the action. Hello and welcome to round 5 of Brewers Challenge here on Community Super League. Marshall has a mix of land and Nahiri. That's a solid start for him. Aaron Forsythe on the bottom of your screen. A couple of Tormenting Voices. Great Aurora is going to be there for a while, but Cryptolith Right as a 2-drop probably makes this a keeper.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the fact that Marshall has one of his Hedron alignment here is actually pretty good for him. One of the things that he mentioned earlier is that he is going to have to find all 4 copies of it, and not playing black is a choice he made. He could easily have played black and found them a little bit easier than he chose not to. I don't know about easily.
Like, as color number 4, when Dark Petition is double colored.
I guess you can make your deck a little different. Like, he could have played maybe like black, white, and blue. And then, like, maybe if he ditches red, I don't honestly know how he constructs this. The deck is sweet, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nahiri is the card that he thinks is the key, because it's both, it's some digging, it can exile a card, it can exile an enchantment for him, it can just put one in, got all kinds of applications.
Yeah. It will just let him see through a lot of his deck and eventually get one of those Hedron alignments into exile, which is key with this deck, because it's, relatively easy to draw one, get one in the yard eventually, but being able to exile one is a little more challenging. So Nahiri is really key in that equation. It's like Tireless Tracker for Aaron. So Aaron actually has a pretty aggressive draw this game.
True.
This might not be going for super long, though. Marshall does have the Planner Outburst, so Oh, and Descend the Sinful. He actually drew Descend upon the Sinful. So, yeah, it looks like this isn't going to be going on for too long.
Wow, he wound up with the Descend the Sinful.
Yeah, Jace is pretty good in Marshall's deck, too. It's going to let him loot through. In fact, it's funny. He might not even be that interested in flipping this Jace, like, through the matchup in general, because he just kind of wanted to rummage and loot.
Definitely. Yeah, it's funny. This really is just Aaron's going to play out a curve of creatures, and Marshall's going to sweep the board with a Wrath of God effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
The nice thing, though, is Aaron is going to get a couple cards out of this because he gets to just get some clues from Tireless Tracker. So even if Marshall's able to clean up this board... oh, that's a good draw. Is that Devil's Playground? My computer's a little... My connection's a little bad, so I think that's Devil's Playground. But
it is.
That's a good draw. Yeah.
Is that one of your keys to the game? The Devil's Playground?
It is. I think it is for this matchup. All right, so Aaron's going to go ahead and play it now. That's interesting because I guess Aaron has no way of knowing that Marshall has sweepers, but this will change how he plays game 2 for sure.
That one's a sorcery, right?
It is a sorcery.
Yeah.
But the problem is they're all going to die. So he's going to get to deal Marshall 4, but then he just loses all the devils. So like he would
be playing around sweeper effects.
Right. That's what I mean. It's going to affect how he plays game 2, but it's not going to play how he plays this right now. I mean, it'll actually affect how he plays the rest of the match after he sees this Planner Outburst here.
Fair. Oh, second Hedron alignment. We're at 2.
Yep. So here we go. Planner Outburst. And now Aaron's going to change the way he plays this match. Yeah. He does get to deal him 4, though. So. And he can follow up with Nissa, who's not that far away from flipping. He has a Clue and a Tormenting Voice. So
it's a pretty savage setback, though, right? That was 6 permanents gone for any future Great Aurora, and all 6 permanents tapped for mana. Like this
is kind of the last time he falls for it, though. He's not going to fall for it again. Like as soon as he saw this and he knows that Marshall's build around card is Hedron alignment, like Aaron's just not going to fall for it. Now he knows he just has to pace himself in a little.
Look, there's the Great Aurora. He had mana to cast it if he hadn't been swept. All right, rebuild. We can get there.
Yeah, he's just fine shape.
I just really want to see both decks get to actually do their signature
do their thing. Yeah. Well, Marshall's certainly getting there. So we have one in play. Now he's going to be able to get one of those in exile. Jace could potentially get one of those in the yard. And obviously, Han will be maybe the last one he needs. So
yeah, he's got the tools if he can find all 4 copies.
The other nice thing is with Pyromancer's Goggle in Marshall's deck, one of the things that he was mentioning is the interaction with all the card draw and Tormenting Voice and cards like that. They just let him see so much of his deck because he knows he has to go through basically his whole deck. Like he's really interested in cards that will allow him to do that. So Pyromancer's Goggle is really important here. I don't think that Aaron has any way to interact with Pyromancer's Goggles in his deck, does he? Let me pull it up.
I don't remember one. I know that Traverse the Ulven Wall does give him... He's got kind of a toolbox, a bunch of one-of creatures.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're mostly...
But the creatures don't interact well. Like, maybe he has some in the sideboard post-combat, like post-match.
I think their job is to be sweet more than it is to be...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Utility.
Yeah, but if he can get it off the board, it's just going to... Because, like, the goggles are going to be a problem. Like, the goggles will do something this game.
So Dragon Fodder is both permanent and mana. 5, 6. That gets him to 9 mana. Great Aurora is what, 11, right?
Like, it's not... Yeah, sorry, Great Aurora is what did you say?
It's 11 mana? 8 GGG?
No, it's 9, I believe.
Only 9?
Yeah, but the problem is, like, this Great Aurora isn't even good for him. Like, look at how many permanents Marshall has in play. I've seen a lot of Great Auroras be cast and do nothing.
But you get to reset the Hedron alignments.
You do. Actually, that's key.
You knock the Hedrons totally askew.
That's actually pretty important, but
oh boy, Tormenting Voice with Goggles.
All right, this is pretty good. Yeah, actually, being able to reset the Hedrons is pretty crucial. You are right about that. It's almost like a reset on everything that Marshall's doing.
It's like he's He's Lucy. Marshall's Charlie Brown coming at the football. Every time he thinks he's going to get kicked the football, Aaron's just going to reshuffle everything with Great Aurora. You could just dirtle for days.
So I think this is interesting. So typically I think Aaron would benefit here from, him being able to play a longer game and get more permanence in play and then cast a big Aurora. But it looks like Aaron might end up having to use this Great Aurora a little defensively if he starts seeing that Marshall's getting like too many pieces of the puzzle together.
Right. Well, he does have.
He was set back so much. He lost how many permanents in that exchange when Marshall planted up versus like 6?
6.
He had 6.
Yeah, he had 11 mana on turn, whatever it was, turn 6, I think.
It was 6. Yeah, he cast it on curve, and then like immediately it was just gone. Well, having Anissa here is good for Aaron too.
Yeah, Worldbreaker's not bad either.
Mm-hmm.
Although, there's already one Hedron alignment in the graveyard, right? So does Marshall have a regrowth effect? If Aaron puts a second Hedron alignment,
that's an interesting question. Let me actually look at his deck list. That's a really interesting question.
Is Marshall just in trouble?
Yeah, what do you do if that happens? Let's see. Oh, I don't think he can. Wait, I don't think he can do anything if a second one gets in the yard.
Oh, hilariously though, Worldbreaker's an exile effect, not a destroy effect. So the first Worldbreaker does him a favor.
Well, if he manages to, hold on. So if Marshall's plan is to I guess Marshall would just, he is casting.
All right, here we go. It is time. Aaron says, enough of this nonsense.
Wow, we're gonna spin the wheel. I'm excited to see what happens here. So let's count permanents real quick. There's 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 11 for Aaron. And how many for Marshall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's actually the same, if I'm seeing this correctly.
This is just a reset. Aaron gets to go first. And obviously he got to reset.
Also, he got to float some mana when he did that too. So he technically is a little bit up. It's supposed to be a symmetrical effect, but he can make it a little asymmetrical when he casts it on his turn. So what does he get to play here? A dragon fodder? He's going to move to Hydra another Great Aurora. And he gets to copy it, but yeah, without a Cryptolithrites, he can't even use them for mana. Not that they could at this turn anyway. So yeah, I think he might just have to move to... Does he have 8 in hand? Yeah. He'll just probably discard something and then pass. But Marshall's not looking bad. Look over there. I guess he does lose the Hedron that he had in play.
The one stays in the graveyard, though. Graveyards are not actually affected by Great Aurora. So.
Yeah. I guess what I was going to say earlier is what Marshall wants to be careful with is if Aaron's playing Worldbreaker, he wants to make sure that if he ever, Angelic Purge is a card that Marshall's playing so that he can, because it does a couple of things, right? He can sack a Hedron alignment to get it in the yard, or he can target the Hedron alignment to get it into exile. But if he ever puts out 2 Hedron alignments in play at the same time and exiles one and then Aaron exiles the other, I don't think he has any way to get it back from exile.
Luckily, Hedron alignment has hexproof.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Does it's got words on it too, it turns out. It's got 1U scry 1. It's got hexproof. Learning all these new things.
Comes to show you how many times I've played with Hedron alignment.
I suspect it's the same as me.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, Angelic Purge. Oh, that's right, he does have Angelic. Okay, so that's his way to interact with Goggles. That's actually pretty good for him.
Sure.
So the Commune with Lava is actually interesting for Marshall. One of the use cases he was talking about was that sometimes what's really easy to do with the deck, well, it's not really easy, of course, we're on turn 9. What is that, 9?
It's only 9.
But yeah, it's only 9. But one of the things that he said you can do relatively easy is manage to get something in hand, yard, and exile, or sorry, yard and in play. But then actually getting something to exile is a little more challenging. So that's why the being able to like cast a big commune with lava is really important, because he might just do it at his upkeep to try to get a card, to try to find the last one like with a really, really big X, and then get it into exile immediately and then win the game with the trigger on the stack.
Goggles can make that twice as effective, but I'm actually impressed with how many ways Marshall has to get a Hedron alignment exiled. That seemed like it should be the hard one, and I actually think his deck's pretty good at doing it. Now, the thing his deck does not appear to be pretty good at doing is surviving these devil attacks. Marshall is running out of time. I think he may be forced to summon the fishermen.
Those fishermen never saw it coming. Or goblins in this case. Yeah, here they are. Does he have delirium?
Probably.
He does.
Yes, it does have delirium.
Although, actually, Marshall did say he was committed to the winning with Hedron alignment plan.
Oh, he's not attacking with a 4/4. He'll block.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think this is going to do anything.
It blocks. Descend upon the Sinful does exile as well, so that he didn't get the devil triggers. Like Aaron did not get to deal one with each of those on the way out.
I mean, I guess the important thing to keep in mind, too, is that Marshall is at 6. So it's kind of a precarious life total to be at.
If that had just been Destroy All Creatures, Marshall would be at 2 and would just be dead to these 2 devils. Now, how does Aaron play this? He's got options, right? He can traverse the Ulven Wall to get random creatures. He can Dragon Fodder to build up permanence. He's pretty close to just being able to Great Aurora again, because the Cryptolith Rite turns all these tokens into mana.
Right.
All right. He's going to deal...
Traversing? Yeah, he does get to deal 1 here. Traversing for a Goblin Dark Dwellers is actually pretty good here, because he gets to both cast, like recast, get a couple creatures.
Sure.
And we know that Marshall doesn't have any sweepers right now, but even that still gets him a little bit of value. And then Marshall doesn't have a lot of creatures to block it because it has Menace, so it forces Marshall to have to leave one of those creature lands behind to be able to block it.
Yep. Aaron making exactly the play you suggested. He traversed for the Dark Dweller, just like you suggested.
Yeah, there you go.
And now he gets to get a card back via the Dark Dwellers. Fiery Impulse is what he has decided to get back with Dark Dwellers. So down goes the Angel. Cute. He's able to finish off the 4/4. And now he's threatening lethal, forcing Marshall to react. Meanwhile, he knows Marshall's a million miles away from actually killing him with Hedron alignment. So I think he's just going to force him to react. He doesn't want to overcommit and lose a bunch of dragon fodder to a sweeper. What's Marshall got?
I mean, he can still take down those Goblin Dark Dwellers with Angelic Purges, though. The problem is he is using so many of these purges defensively that this is like one of the ways that he manages to get some of the cards. And like, I guess he already has one in the yard, but he does manage to put him in.
Look, it's just super flexible.
He has like now. Yeah.
Angelic Purge is just super flexible in his deck. He can use it to deal with enemy creatures. He can use it on his Hedron alignments, either sacking them or exiling them. So it's just a super flexible card in his deck. I mean, basically, he has to survive Aaron's hand. Like, this is very much Aaron's playing out threats. Marshall has to deal with them to stay alive so that he can get back toward implementing his game plan. But I don't think Aaron's going to run out of threats. Dance with Devils is another
Dragon Fodders and Dance with Devils? Yeah.
Right. Aaron's just going to present lethal every turn and see if Marshall can deal with it. And, I mean, Aaron gets to do that for what? 2 or 3 more turns? 2
or 3 more turns. I mean, Marsh is in a really tough spot here. He kind of needs a Wrath here, and then even that's not going to help him because we know what's in Aaron's hand.
Exile the Devil, once again dodging the on death trigger.
Yeah, so at least the goblins don't deal Marsh any damage, though he is going to have to start leaving some of these creatures behind. I see people in chat are excited giving Marshall their energy so he can try to pull it off. He was starting to get there. The Great Aurora, now Now that I'm seeing these two decks play out a little bit more, it seems pretty clear that this is actually very tough for Marshall because he can do a
Because he's playing
lot.
Hedron
The Great
Alignment
Aurora
deck,
just gets
Gabby.
to, yeah.
He's got the best pairing he can get. It's not like there's negates in his opponent's deck or anything.
That's true. I guess this is kind of what you get when you build around the card Hedron alignment.
Yes. He built
Yeah.
around the card Hedron alignment and doesn't have any tutors in his deck. Not really. He's like, I don't know how, like a half a tutor with the Sidisi, that the uncastable Sidisi that can only be Nahiri ultimated.
You gotta give Marshall credit for being fully committed to the plan. He has
Absolutely.
been fully committed to the plan.
And like I actually think there is a legitimate chance he could pull it off in this game. Oh, is Marshall gonna go for Ormondal? Yes. The Profane Prince.
Oh.
None of this present lethal and then say go stuff. Wait, he's not going for Ormondal. He's going for...
Oh, he's Great Auroraing? Yes. Wow. He also... Wow. That's nuts. He totally has the game here.
I love it.
Oh, so Marshall's just going to float mana, I think.
Oh, float mana, sure.
Oh, no, he's casting Commune with Lava. Okay. Isn't it better to float mana here?
I don't know. 6 cards entered exile. I don't know what they were. Looks like Tormenting Voice, land, Shivan Reef, and what's the other red one? Magmatic Insight? Yeah, so
I can't.
Land and a couple of the red card draw cards. Wow. So Aaron went for the Great Aurora because he's playing a Great Aurora deck. Hats off to
wow. Marshall got 3 lands.
That's not very many.
Wow. Okay, so it's funny because Aaron definitely had the game before this happened, and now hitting 3 lands off of that, that's so brutal.
Now is it okay to go for Ormondal? Or he's actually short, isn't he?
I think I think it looks like he might be playing Nissa. I think that's what he hovered over. He doesn't really need to extend any more into this. Yeah, he's playing Nissa. And he hasn't played a land this turn, I don't think, so he even gets to flip it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so there's a land, yeah. So you get to flip it and reverse it. Wow. I guess when you cast the Great Aurora, this is like the scenario that you're hoping for. Like, it is exactly this. So Marshall has, wow. And
Chat
he has
says,
so many sweepers in his hand, but he's like not even close to casting them.
Chat says, I want my energy back. Game 2, guys. We still got a shot at this.
Skillfully done by Aaron. I really, really, really A+ for going for the flavor win right there. It couldn't have worked out better for him, honestly. And you know the thing too is that Marshall wasn't even that far away from it after that happened, because if he had if he managed to get a Hedron alignment in play, the Commune would have exiled one and he would have had one in hand. Because he cast Commune for like, I don't know, how much was it, like 6 or 7? But now we know that this is just, he is dead on board.
Right, well, Marshall is playing with his food. He's not attacking for the win. He's doing other things. What is the best way to win with his deck? That we get to find out. Okay, it is Ormondal. He's going to transform Westvale Abbey. He's going to sacrifice
it doesn't even matter.
Devil.
He's gonna die to the devil triggers.
That's no fun. We never even get Ormondal. He's just on the stack forever.
Yep. Nope.
Waiting.
He's trapped in a void. You never get to see him. Like 3, 2.
I do like the deck.
Didn't think so.
I think Aaron wanted to make sure that he won with Devils. It is the Devil went down to Lorwyn.
Wait, how did he? Didn't he? Wasn't Marshall at 3?
Is it optional? What the hell? Can you target yourself? What did I miss?
He targeted himself. Just so he could kill him with Ormondal.
Oh, he redirected to Nahiri.
Oh, that's funny. All right, that works too.
Yep.
That's really funny. Well, that was a much more A+ points for win, to be honest. So Aaron really decided to step it up with a flavor at the very end of that match.
Yeah, Devil Went Down to Laurel, and that song turned out to have more verses than I was expecting. There was a second Great Aurora for fun. Eventually, though, the Devils did get there.
I do think that this is a good matchup. Like, not, it's a good pairing, is what I mean to say. Because we actually got to see both decks almost doing their thing. Like, Marshall really looked like he was going to pull it together there. And then, obviously, the Great Aurora just, like, second Great Aurora just really put it away. But even after the first one, it didn't look like he was in that tough a shape.
This week's been great. I've really enjoyed lots of the decks.
Yeah, Brewers Challenge is an interesting, especially when it's cards like this, because I think every time a new set comes out and people see the cards that are being spoiled or previewed rather, and you see something like Hedron alignment, you have that moment where it's like, "Be still, my beating heart." Like, will this be a real thing? And it almost always is not. But seeing people actually try and be innovative and like really set their minds to try to make something like this happen. Like Marshall's deck is really cool.
Yeah.
Like he clearly put a lot of thought into it. I know that I know a lot of people who like thought and considered how this deck could actually function, and it's cool, right? But it's not something that you typically see at like, you wouldn't even really see this at an FNM, not really.
Look, we do have the Brewmaster standings, right? I think Marshall has decided which set he's like. You've staked such a claim to the actual wins and losses standing that Marshall's looking at, oh, maybe I could see if I can win this Brewmaster title. It's a pretty cool title. There are prizes for both. They don't interact with each other. They're completely independent sets of standings. So,
Chad asking for Marshall to align their Hedrons. So Marshall has what? A Jace. His hand's like not great. He has to send upon the Sinful which resets a lot of what Aaron can possibly do. But
you know what else Marshall has in his sideboard that I'm sure he brought in is a single copy of Invasive Surgery.
Yes,
I believe he put in his sideboard just in case he happened to get paired against the Great Aurora.
The Great Aurora deck, and he actually did. Which that's great.
See if that comes up.
So he's looting into more lands? Ugh. Pyromancer's Goggles on the other side for Aaron.
Kenji's deck was maybe the biggest surprise for me this week. That deck actually looked decent. Like, it's this crazy Tamio's Journal, like 1 Gear per Ether Grid to win, but that deck actually feels like something you could legit take to Friday Night Magic.
That was actually the deck that I wanted to pick if I would have had a higher seed. I really wanted
Tamio's
to.
Journal?
Yeah, Tamio's Journal seems sweet.
There are Brain in a Jar builds that are also viable.
Doing something similar?
Sure,
yes.
Not necessarily the way LRR built it, but some of these
I think there was Saffron Olive, I think, has a Brain in the Jar build that's making its rounds around FNM and is negate. But damn. There's the invasive surgery too.
Yeah, Saffron Olive, definitely an inspiration for us choosing this format in the first place. We gave him some love in the intro video, but if you guys like this format, MGG Goldfish might be the YouTube channel for you.
He does it on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
Like takes a viewer challenge sort of thing.
All right, Aaron did stick a Pyromancer's Goggles. He's got a Tormenting Voice. Somehow that looks more impressive than Marshall's Tormenting Voice.
It does. And
Marshall 0 copies of Hedron Alignment.
This is the thing that I was talking about earlier. This is the point of the game where this Jace is going to flip and it was just much better as an O2.
We can make another one.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem here is Marshall currently doesn't have that many ways. I guess with Jace, he'll be able to start flashbacking some of his card draw, but before that, he only has this insight, which he can't even Can't even cast at the moment.
Whee! I like how
Okay, so-
everybody this week just, well, what if I throw Goggles and Tormenting Voice in my deck? That's how I'll find everything. That's how I'll assemble this contraption.
All right, is this?
Oh, the
right,
Cryptolith. So much.
All right.
That card's so good.
Yeah, and so Aaron is setting himself up here to probably play Devil's Playground and eventually Great Aurora and do it for a ton. However, he does not know that there's an invasive surgery on Marshall's side of the board.
Funny. He also is going to have to worry about Wrath effects, right? He got his board swept multiple times last game, so yes, Devil's Playground into Great Aurora looks like the plan. I just don't know if it actually. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, he might not go through with it. He can pace himself a different way. He can start playing things like Dragon Fodder here and just start attacking a little bit. The problem is with Jace on the board and making his creatures smaller. If he doesn't commit enough things to the board, he's not actually going to attack Marshall's life total in a significant way. So I think he's kind of put in a bad spot here where he.
Oh, the Drownyard Temple! Oh, the Drownyard Temple!
Oh,
Nissa, hilarious. Second copy of Great Aurora. But Marshall's got not just an invasive surgery, but also a negate.
Oh, and he's going to copy it? Yeah, so he's in a good spot.
This is amazing. I have never seen Pyromancer's Goggles copy Devil's Playground.
I think this is exactly the reason he put it in his deck. This is awesome.
Spectacular. 8 Devils are going down to Lorwyn.
And this is I actually like this a lot because what he's putting Marshall on is like, look, you have to have the answer here. Like, you have to have an answer here, right? And he needs. I think Marshall's planning on negating the second. No, he didn't do anything. Okay, so he's putting him on like, you have to have Descend Upon the Sinful, or you have to figure out how to deal with all these devils. Because Planar Outburst is still like pretty. It takes half of his life total away. Wow. This is so sick. That is not a Descend Upon the Sinful for Marshall. He's in a tough spot now. He's in a really tough spot.
What's he flashing back?
Like he's flashbacking something? I can't quite tell. The screen's too small.
Does he have a Descend in his yard?
No, apparently he doesn't.
White card. Yeah, it's Descend Upon the Sinful.
Oh, so okay. So then he's planning on flashbacking that. Okay.
There you go. And yeah, that's what he's giving flashback to.
Mm-hmm. So that actually, so he's, yeah. If he had a Descend Upon the Sinful in the yard, then he was in fine shape. But this still puts Aaron in a good spot to potentially Great Aurora soon.
For 8 less permanents.
Well, for 8 less permanents, but he's still going to do it for quite a bit. How many? He still has way more permanents than Marshall does.
Yeah, fair. So does he have the mana? 5, 6.
I don't
he's
think
only
he's
got exactly 9 mana. So
he might get another one from Lisa, and he doesn't even have to do it this turn, so he could potentially like also Dragon Fodder copy and get a couple more permanents down that way. He could traverse Uvenwald here, maybe kill that angel, and then he'll have another permanent, and Marshall has 1 less permanent. So it's not like this is still like looking pretty good for Aaron.
Yeah. How much damage can 1 invasive surgery do? I mean, if he gets all the Great Auroras, it's kind of a big deal. Is Aaron going to cast one now just to reset? Yeah, he's like, I can cast the Great Aurora, therefore I'm going to cast the Great Aurora.
I think there's a chance that Aaron wanted to pace himself a little, like wait till next turn to do it. I think it would have been a much better Great Aurora next turn if he did that.
But then you have to let Marshall untap. Like, Marshall's basic... Oh my god, that's 2 mana for Marshall?
Oh!
2 lands! Yeah, I think Aaron sees Marshall as a blue-white control deck, right? The blue-white control deck taps out for the Wrath of God. You don't let them untap and counterspell your big haymaker. You just play it. Sure, maybe Sure, it would have been better. He can dance off of a goggle, play Dragon Potter. He could have put like 6 permanents into play, but vandalize.
Vandalize?
Vandalize. That's what it's come down to. Destroy target land. Oh, by the way, he floated 1 mana from Pyromancer's Goggles. So that was both of them. Aaron Forsythe is going for the flawless victory. Flawless victory in Standard. Yeah. No permanents left for Hedron James.
Wow. It's insane.
This is pretty hilarious. Unbelievable.
That was nuts.
That was.
Did these come in from the sideboard?
That was Rain of Salt.
Yes.
A very well named Magic card back in the day.
Well done. That was well done. Okay, I guess this is just on the beatdown plan here, though. Aaron knows he can just like overcommit to the board like crazy at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now he just gets to decide how he wants to win, what he wants to win with, and he's got Conclave Naturalist in from the sideboard too. The goggles.
When he gets to copy them too.
Oh, the goggles.
Oh, Marsh. It was a valiant attempt.
It was.
Vandalize. I have yet to see that card cat. Well, I guess I just saw it.
Marsh was just thinking to himself, just type that exclamation point vote command into chat, please.
Yeah, so as a friendly reminder to everybody in chat, all these decks are being graded on their sweetness or flavor, whatever you want to call it. So exclamation mark vote in chat will pull up the current standings, and you can vote on Hedron James, the real MVP, versus Devil Wind Down and Lorwyn. Both these decks were so cool.
Yeah, these are both
very well done by both players.
Ormondal has shown up.
Yeah. And
are Ormondal and Ashaya allowed to be on the same team? That doesn't feel right somehow.
Feels a little wrong, but I guess we don't talk about that.
We got there sweetly enough that would definitely allow it. Wow. That was crazy.
That was a really good one. Yeah, that was tough for Marshall. Even against the slowest deck possible, he still couldn't. Yeah. I mean, the thing, though, is it was the slowest deck possible, but the other thing is, with Pyromancer's Goggles copying all the devils that he's copying, like, that's still a lot of damage, and it's still a lot of pressure. So even Planner Outburst doesn't like take care of that very cleanly, so that's still very difficult for Marshall to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, look, Marshall's deck was cool, gave it the good try, but I gotta say, Aaron's deck looked super sweet to me, right?
No, they were
great, Aurora, and it's not like he just said, "Oh, look, I'm gonna spit some clues out and like outvalue you, a la Sam Black." He was like, "No, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put Infinite Devils into play, and then Great Aurora for just $1 billion."
No, Aaron's deck is great. Also, A+ for him because he decided to go for the super sweet kill in game 2, and it actually worked out so like flawlessly for him. It was great.
And there you see the win for Aaron Forsythe. So moves up to 2-2. Who knows where he'll be in the Brewmaster standings? We'll find that out. Those votes do stay up. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can still go to communitysuperleague.com. You can still vote in the Brewmaster standings. We give that about 24 hours after the show, and then I finalize it and start adding up points for everybody. So there you see quite the show. Dear Diary got there. Hammer Time got the win for MTA. Not a lot of hammers involved, but there were some in the last game. That was sweet. Paul Cheon and Paul and Kenji, by the way, the sweetest sideboards that we've seen.
I saw the game with Paul just like basically bringing in the whole team against the professor.
Yeah, you got there with your big butts, and Aaron's Devils went all the way down to Lorwyn and back a couple of times.
Yeah, there were some people did awesome with the Brewmaster Challenge. I was very impressed with like the creativity and awesome deck building choices that came out of this week.
Totally agree. Yeah, I was really happy with all these decks. I think that Kenji putting everybody else's card in his sideboard was cool. Although I think Paul next leveled him by putting everybody's signature card from the opening credits in, and then he randomly
was like, bye.
And then he randomly gets paired against a mill deck, so he's just like, put them all in. 75 cards, brah. What are you gonna do?
That
I'll
was
wait
great.
and I'll kill you with your own card. So
I
major
was
props.
still traveling. I was still in the car when I was seeing some of the stuff, but I saw chat go wild when that happened. It was great.
Absolutely great. And yeah, the Kenji's match with LRR was also great. Super fun
Yeah.
day all the way around. I'm guessing. Do you think next week's format will lend itself to any crazy shenanigans? What do you
I mean,
think?
Momir always does. If people don't know in chat, I'm not sure that everybody in chat necessarily knows what Momir is, but basically you
Please.
equal to the So basically you have a Momir avatar. It's a Vanguard, and you get to activate it only once per turn. And when you do, you tap your mana and you discard a card, and then you get a random card from Magic's history that is equal to the converted mana cost of the lands that you tap. So on turn 2, you'll get a random 2-drop. On turn 3, you'll get a random 3-drop. And the thing that's cool about Momir is that because it's all of Magic's history, like, you don't know what sort of nonsense you get. And it gets really, really fun when you get to, like, turn 7, 8, 9, because there's a lot of cards that just, like, completely wreck the boards or just completely swing the game in your favor. There's a lot of cards whose power and toughness are equal to something that maybe you don't have any of, because all of these are tokens, so they just enter the battlefield and immediately die. So a lot of fun nonsense happens when you play Momir. It should be really fun to watch.
7 mana, you could get Fade to the Untouchable, lose the game on the spot.
Yeah.
I saw
Also known as the lottery.
I saw a picture the other day where both people had activated for 2, and it was a Squire Vanilla 1/2 from, like, the Dark way back in the day against a Tarmogoyf, which in Momir Vig can only ever be 1/2.
It's only a 1/2. Yeah. No, you get some really fun. Like, if you ever get anything like a mana elf or like a ramp elf, like, that's insanely busted. There's a lot of cards that have a lot of text, but not really a lot of text. Like, it's almost flavor text because it doesn't really affect the game. Momir is fun.
So it will be Momir next week. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed our Brewmasters Challenge. Hopefully you'll sound off on whose deck you liked the most. Give those scores. Hopefully you'll come back next week. So thanks for hanging out with us, Gabby. Thank you guys for hanging out with us out there on the chat. Come back, same time, same channel next week for Momir Basic.